I'm going to ask the question. We're going to think about it maybe. And then at the end, we'll answer like the question. So I'm going to start us off real simple. Okay. Do you know?
So wait, you're just asking now and you want our answers later?
Yes. Don't answer now. Don't blurt it out.
Okay.
Okay. What does XLR stand for? Okay.
I honestly do not know.
Okay.
But I'm not an audio guy, so.
All right. Well, we're going to think about it.
Examine life. No.
right
now.
Oh, jinx.
I'm sensing a new podcast coming out. Welcome to XLR.
We just created a new one. Jordan, you've got a note here. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, one of the church thinkers I kind of follow, and I don't know that I necessarily subscribe to everything he says, but it's interesting, and I love just hearing kind of critical thoughts. Carey Nieuwhof has kind of just said that, like, in 2032, so we did this whole thing in the beginning of about churches in 2032. Growing churches will be digital organizations with physical locations. I thought that was kind of interesting as we talk about this about, churches. He's not saying they're going away. They're chill out, people. But he is saying, like, as we move more into a digital space and online, the churches will have a physical address, but they also need to play in that space, that virtual space as well. I mean, it's kind of like, no duh.
So
I thought that was kind of interesting. He has a lot of other things to say. You can look him up. So.
Yeah, so I listen to Brady's podcast all the time, obviously.
Yeah.
Hence why he was on my YouTube channel and interview. They talked about Passion Conference this year. Did anyone listen to Passion Conference with Louis Giglio?
No.
I'm aware of it. I don't.
So
I haven't heard the name Louis Giglio in years.
Well, so I mean, he started Passion. He speaks every year there.
Well, I know, but I haven't heard his name.
Safe to say he didn't pay attention to Passion this year either.
I mean, so yeah, but Passion is huge. There's like 50,000, 60,000 people in that arena, and I don't remember the exact wording, but he pretty much said that social media was stupid and like worthless, and that like the people in that room were a bigger deal than people online. And he kind of like went down this whole path, and it was go back and listen to it. And in the show notes, I'll link Brady's podcast because they actually listen to his, like, what he says. And it's like, he literally is saying not that like it's bad, like that hang on, let me gather my words here. Like, he thinks that there's more of an impact for people in the physical room than online, and that it's like pointless for you in your church to have social media accounts. Brady's argument was that they thought it was hilarious that Passion has a verified Twitter account, a verified YouTube channel, a verified Facebook account, a verified Snapchat account, an Instagram account, and a TikTok account, all verified. And that you can pin videos in TikTok. And so he's like, okay, so you have 60,000 people in this arena. Let's add the 3 top pin videos on your TikTok account. That's 2.7 million views.
I was going to say. Yeah.
Tell me how that's not more of an effect in the world than 60,000 people in an arena.
Yeah. And probably some of those 60,000 are that 2 point.
Potentially, yeah.
Yeah.
And Brady's argument is not that we don't need the in-person, but when you have these people that are like just kind of pooping on online stuff, it's like your very account has millions of views.
They need to be symbiotic, honestly. Like they have to exist together. And this really brings me back to like the early days of television. Not that I was around for the early days of television. Okay, this is just in my studies.
Sean, how old are you actually?
He's actually eternal.
Yeah, I'm part of the old guard. So anyways, now I'm going to lose my train of thought. And that's easy for me. No, but in doing a lot of studies, when we're talking about like YouTube and whether churches should be on there, and we're talking about like the fact that talking head media in a liturgical format is one of the fastest dying types of media, except for thought leaders. So why did churches want to stick a guy walking around just talking, preaching at you about something instead of sharing in this community building type of format that YouTube is specifically designed to, and their algorithm is designed to push forward, right? But you get into this argument that churches may have. Some are very much against social media altogether, against YouTube, against these different things, just like they were against television and film and media. And then you look at them now and they're just like begging to be a part of it, having to pay extra money to be a part of things that were being given away for free at one point. And so yeah, I think they go together. It's not like, hey, let's not look at a format with fear. And I'm not, that's not kind of what we're talking about today. But like, let's not look at YouTube with fear and say, we don't want any part to do with that or any, social media or whatnot, or there's no point you having any of it. Because for some people, that may be the only part of your church they're ever going to see, whether they're a shut-in or they've got,
International.
Yeah, international or something like that. And your voice speaks to them. But whether you're called to do it or not, I think is kind of the bigger picture there. But I can't agree with Mr. Giglio there on that. It makes me giggle. Yeah.
So I mean, so let's expound on this a little bit. So then what's the current and future role of in-person gathering then? With where we are going with all of this, like everyone's live streaming, like there's multiple platforms that do it. There's all this content to be, absorbed and consumed.
Well, I think another question too that I think for a lot of like online pastors and teams also need to answer is even online the ultimate or is in person the ultimate? Like, are we eventually trying to drive people to come here in through our doors? That's a really good question. Like, what is the ultimate step there?
See, and
or maybe not even our doors. Maybe it's, hey, a church that's down the street from them, wherever they're at.
And I think, so let's talk about that for a second. Like, because, I grew up in a really big church. Like when I was in high school, it was, honestly, it was probably one of the biggest ones in the country at that time. And I heard the argument a lot. It's not about how many people are in this building. And I was like, but isn't it really though? Because like if you're in the building, it means that you're there for a reason. You want to be a part of what God is doing. You want to learn. You want to have community, like those kind of things. Like I get that it's not about the being able to say that, oh, we have 17,000 people in our church on Sunday morning and you only have 200. Like I get that that's not the point, but like the terminology of like, no, it is about having like, it's a great thing that you can get 16,000 people to gather for wanting to worship and learn about Jesus Christ. Like that's a huge deal.
Yeah.
Like no one thinks that it's, like when they see the Super Bowl parade for Kansas City and there's hundreds of thousands of people down there. Well, it's not about the numbers. It's just about that they won the game. Like, no one's saying that. Like they're looking at that going, holy crap, there's a ton of people there. Like that's amazing. Who can have the biggest crowd? And so like, I look at that and I go, no, it is about the numbers within reason, as long as like that terminology is understood and whatnot. And so
I think as long as too, is you're not doing something just for the numbers.
Right. Yeah. But like, I agree. Like we want people to come and join us in person because
that's Christianity 101.
Scripturally, we're supposed to gather, like being able to lay hands on each other, be able to communicate where two and more are gathered. Like there's so many references.
Baptizing, discipling, sharing the good news. That's.
So again, I think it comes down to like, what's the point? And like that question is, what is the role of in-person gathering versus online? And we've looked at it, a lot of people have looked at it as the same thing. And I think that that's inaccurate.
Mm-hmm. I think the way you do them probably can't be the same thing. But I've been sitting way over here looking at a couple different translations of this. But Mark 16, 15, and 16. Still later, as the 11 were eating supper, he appeared to them and he took them to task most severely for their stubborn unbelief, refusing to believe those that had seen him raised up. So basically, like, Jesus appeared to the 11 after he'd already risen from the dead and like took them to task. I like that. Most severely for telling people, no, there's no way you saw Jesus raised from the dead. Then he said to them, go into the world, go everywhere and tell everyone, announce the message of God's good news to one and all. Mm-hmm. And so your gatherings are like one, in my opinion, like a place where you kind of bring the family in, right? And spend time. Wow, I feel like I'm just going to go for it. So the Jewish people have this tradition when they would go to worship, going to temple. There was a journey of that. Some people have broken that down into like seven stages of worship or like seven. I'll be quick. I know we're trying to keep this under 30 minutes or whatever.
No, you're
all right,
good.
Cool.
some people have broken down. And so it started with like everybody, so they knew it was time to go to temple. And so everybody's leaving their houses and they're walking to temple. And as they're going, they're telling each other about what God has done for them since the last time they went to temple, right? And as the journey progresses, slowly things turn towards like, so they are telling each other, let's remind each other of how good God is. Then let's start directing that praise to him. We're thankful. These are your attributes. This is who you are, you know, thankfulness, and then, you know, supplication, that kind of stuff. And then it eventually turns into holy, holy, holy. That should kind of be the last, like you are just fell before him, before who he is. And that is, in my opinion, like, so you take that aspect of it, like, let's get everybody together, let's spend time doing this so that we all in turn worship God. And then we need to like spend time maybe being rebuked or like just hearing from God, hearing what he has to teach us to then turn around and take out into the world, right? And I think that trying to get like more people on board with that should just be like your number one goal, no matter what way to do it. And if you, and kind of like I said last episode, the internet is not a fad.
Yeah.
And like to not use it as a tool is to just be like ignoring Mark 16. You're not going into all the world and announcing it to the best of your ability.
There's something that happened with my sister like a year ago that like really made me like think about like, you know, like when you have a belief and then like someone says something, you're like, that's how to articulate what I believe. And I've never been able to do that. She decided to like, she lives in the Detroit area and she really wanted to go to Bethel's School of Supernatural Ministry. Well, they didn't offer online classes because of the pandemic. They ended up doing it because they couldn't meet in person. They're in California, blah, blah, blah. So she was like, cool, I'm going to do this online. And in one of, I don't know what class it was, but like in one of her classes, like there was something where they were like, you know, like they called, like the teacher called her out and like, hey, we asked this question. You didn't raise your hand. Like, I feel like the Lord's telling me that you need something. And she's in her room and one of her kids walks in and they're like, my sister's telling me the story. And she's like, and they know they're not supposed to come in during specific times because I'm in class. And she's like, hey, you're not supposed to be in here. And the teacher was like, oh, is that your son? Is that your son? Like, bring him in here. Bring him in here. What's his name? What's his name? Tells the name. And the woman's like, says to my nephew, the Lord is saying that you're, you know, like we asked this question and your mom didn't answer, didn't raise her hand. The Lord knows that she needs blank. And he sent you in here for your mom. And can you give your mom a hug? And then this woman, like, you know, prays over my sister with hitting my microphone. Has puts hands on there. And so my sister's telling me the story. She's like, so after the class wrapped up, she's like, hey, like, why did you come in here? She's like, because you called me. And she's like, I didn't call you. He's like, no, my brother had his AirPods in, was listening to music. And was like, yo, bro, mom's calling you, go. And so I was like, oh, okay. So I got up and just came in because like he heard you calling him. And she's like, I did not call you. Like that was obviously like God is doing that whole thing. And I was like, oh, that's super powerful. And she's like, yeah. She's like, you know, and it was really cool because they just got done telling the story about how they weren't going to do the online stuff. And then they were like, you know, we're limiting because like they want that in person so badly at the school. And they're like, we're limiting the fact that like we think that the Holy Spirit can't move through a video conference. And I believe Chris Valentin mentioned the story of the Roman soldier that was like, no, like you don't even have to go. I know if you say it, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Like Jesus didn't have to physically go and be there and do those things. Like he just said it and it happened. Like, and that's what we're talking about now. And I was like, that's the articulation. Like we can't limit God and the Holy Spirit, what it can do through these things. Like a podcast that we record now, 3 years from now, you know, like I listened to like Chris and he'll say like, hey, you know, like I want to, you know, pray a prayer over you guys for empowering and emboldening you guys to do whatever. So if you're driving your car, you know, like open your sunroof, you know, stick your hands out the window, whatever, you know, it's like, you know, some cool symbols. And it's like, I'm listening to these like podcasts from like 3 or 4 years ago and I'm like, you know, cool, I'll take that, you know, and it's like, I can feel a spirit like coming on me in that moment, you know?
Mhm.
And it's like thinking and having that realization of like, this is something that was recorded years ago and is still, the Spirit of the Lord is on that audio recording
Mhm.
for anyone at any point in time to stumble across that. And I'm like, those are the things that like I need to like get people to like understand why we want to do this kind of stuff so badly.
But I think it's also interesting too. I know a buddy of mine, a good friend of mine, is also going through the Bethel school, and they're very intentional about creating community, creating connection online with professors, with other classmates. So I think that's the other thing too, is like it's just that intentional community.
Yeah.
So
Definitely. And I think like when you start to
which
look,
can, really quick can be really challenging online.
oh yeah.
It's a bit easier in person.
Yeah.
So.
But I mean, I see people like there's a YouTube channel called Yes Theory. Does anyone watch that?
Called what?
Yes Theory.
Oh yeah.
And they've created an actual in-person community.
Mhm.
And so like they do all these meetups all over the place.
Awesome.
And it's like they'll all like, hey, I'm in, Berlin. Let's do this meetup on Saturday. And like, 50 people show up.
Yeah.
And it's not even the YouTube channel guys that are doing it. It's like the people from their community have like a Facebook group and they're like, hey, we're gonna do this.
Yeah. There's a bunch of us here. Let's get together.
Yeah, let's get together type thing.
Awesome.
And so it's like this interesting like YouTube channel. Like that's the only reason why these guys are famous. And they have this community and like there's just like these, pop-up things. And it's even more fun is like because the guys actually watch that Facebook group. And so like some of the guys, they were there filming and that like people didn't know. And they showed up to the meetup and like people were like, oh my gosh. So it was like super fun. But yeah.
I was just thinking when you talked about that old recording and it's still coming, just releasing something for you while you're there. It's like the whole idea that his word does not return void just makes me think like, it's not like a check that's void after so many days or something after, there isn't a
90 days,
date of expiration. Yeah. like I know that's not exactly what that part's speaking to, but that just kind of like, that's how that hit me. I pictured an expiration date on like a packaged Holy Spirit thing. Like, no, that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's good.
Expires 1973.
Yeah. Can we talk about something really important though?
Yes.
When our church is going to start back up the tape ministry?
I used to pick up a CD every week, and they haven't started doing that again yet.
Yeah.
They really miss picking up a CD every week.
One of my clients, I was at their church doing an install and he rolled this card up and I was like, oh, I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, I have like 40 years of cassette tapes.
Oh, I think yeah.
that I have to ingest for our archives. And I'm like, really? He's like, yep, this box is 1964.
Oh.
And I'm like,
No.
what? He's like,
Wow.
yeah, that they recorded it in one way and they converted it to cassette tape and it's just been sitting there. And he's like, we're trying to like get them before they like are bad and gone.
Yeah.
And I was like, do you really need that? And he's like, well, the church has only had like 2 pastors in the last like 50 years. So there's people that still really like going back and like listening to his old sermons.
Wow.
So I'm like,
Wow.
Get an intern.
Yeah. Hey, get an engine.
was like-
Underpaid even. That's okay. That's or not paid.
yeah, I was like, well, why don't you send them out to like, like Legacy Box or something and go, hey, can you just do this? He's like, bro, he's like, there's 52 of these for every year and there's 40 years. He's like, it was going to be like $30,000 to get it done by someone else. And he's like, I bought this little contraption for like $300 offline. And I literally just hit play and then I go off and I do a bunch of things and I come back and I stop it. Cause like the software like recognizes when no audio is playing anymore and
Yeah.
it stops recording.
Yep.
So it's not like 3 hours of like dead space that he has to cut off. And he's like, yep. And I just keep doing that. And he's like, I told him that I would get what I could and it would take however long it took. And they were like, okie dokie. And I'm like,
Okie dokie sounds like what you'd say if you got 40 years of recordings to go through. I think though, tape ministry, am I wrong? Is that really what these YouTube things, that's what it is for us?
it's a modern version of
It's
it.
the modern version of that.
It's modern version.
So instead of being like, hey, Gilda's stuck at home and
Gilda.
Gilda. Geraldine is stuck at home and we got to bring her the cassette of today's, sermon.
Here's
'cause
your
she's really gonna be
homework.
touched. Yeah, here's your. Let's just
We've got to bring her the tape and the bulletin from this
yes,
week. Yeah.
and a casserole or chicken noodle soup or something like that.
I mean, she's probably sick. So Chicken noodle
So
soup.
chicken noodle soup sounds good.
Yeah, makes sense.
Here's chicken noodle soup and something for your soul.
Oh, we should not talk about food. I'm so hungry right now.
Thank you. That was good.
Yeah.
That's a good connection there.
Oh man.
Okay, so are you guys all? Is everyone kind of good with this? Do you want to wrap up?
I feel like a lot of these things we could talk about forever. I
That's
think it
true.
also really does matter. Like it's our own experiences, our own expressions of church.
Yeah.
You know, to every single one, there might be a different solution, and
Yeah,
I think that's also what's really cool about it too, is that there's different communities out there. So
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think I would wrap up with this and say, take a hard, long look, think about it, right, and
Yeah.
talk to your leadership about it.
right, and figure out like cast the vision for it. What is the purpose? What is the intention? And don't waste your time on something, because like that's I think things that I've realized is like sometimes like the low viewership count at the beginning of something
Mm-hmm.
can be just because it's starting. But if you've been doing it for 2 years,
Yep.
and that viewership is still super, super low, could you not be spending your time more wisely creating something else like a church podcast or creating other sorts of content or just putting your energy somewhere else that's more effective,
Fruitful.
more fruitful?
Yeah.
You know?
I'd say it's time to pray. If you're like, hey, it's been 4 years, I've had 7 viewers pretty consistently, but Justin, I really feel like I'm on the brink. It's around the corner. I know it is. You're like, man, I think you missed your jumping off point, or you just really need to pray about this and see, maybe that is energy best spent somewhere else.
Yeah, I mean, I would say it's not necessarily that I think that like if you have 7 or 10 consistent viewers, because like that's about what we have. It's about 7 to 10, and it's one soul matters.
Mhm.
But the question that I asked was, who are our consistent 10 viewers? And we went through that, and we're like, okay, so if we were 2 weeks behind, it wouldn't change anything.
It wouldn't matter. But to me, too, it kind of begs the question of when you're looking at how much money should I be spending on doing this kind of thing? If that's all you got for this long period of time, and you're like, well, we want to put more money into this because if we increase the quality of the look, and it's like, man, that's not always what it's about.
And I mean, that
You know,
can play
but I think that's
into it,
kinda-
yeah, for sure. But yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. And if you're watching on YouTube, because yes, we are recording video for this for the first time. So if you're,
what?
If you're on YouTube,
been a
and see
video?
me waving at you. Make
Over
sure you
there.
hit
I think I picked
subscribe.
something.
Up there.
Make sure you hit subscribe and all those kind of things. And then the answer to our trivia question.
I didn't Google it during the show.
Oh, it's a good thing.
No.
So you don't know?
No.
Any guesses?
You've got a guess?
I know what
Or did
BNC
you say-
stands for because I'm a video guy, but
Well, don't say it because then maybe that's a trivia question we'll use next week.
So
teaser.
it actually saddens me that I'm not sure that this is correct because I've been working with it since I was 13 years old.
Okay.
That was a long time ago. Okay, I'm just saying. Yeah, it was a very long time ago.
I mean, you lived through the tape ministry.
Okay, Grandpa, let's get you home.
I was in
You went
charge
through
of
the
the
tape
tape ministry, but due to the fact that it carries a left and a right, I think that has something to do with it. And you got the X factor because it's so great.
Is that really your answer?
Is that even is that an answer?
Caleb's just like the look on Caleb's face, like, what did I just hear? hang on. That's like, what is that, Billy Madison? That is the dumbest answer
Oh yeah.
I've ever
Everybody
heard.
here is now dumber for hearing your answer. You attributed nothing to
That is part
the
of the
humanities.
30 seconds of my life I will never,
Never
get back. Okay, for real, do you have an answer?
No, like I said, the transfer thing, the X part is the only part I think that I understand. But yeah, I've been using it for forever, and I've never bothered to know.
Me neither, which is why I wanted to ask this question. Caleb, do you know?
I think it's ground, left, right.
Well, that's pretty much what I said. But
So it stands for external line return.
Yeah, well, that's close.
I was thinking external.
Was it really?
Yeah,
Potentially. 'Cause what
that's-
else? What
that's
other thing is
Three
X?
Google searches that I did all came up with that answer, so I assume that was accurate.
external, you know how many people get confused when I'm working with them, and I say, "Hey, hand me that XLR." They're like, like mic
External
cable.
line return.
Oh, okay. Could you imagine how confused they'd be? Like, sir, can you hand me that 50-foot external line? What return? Hand me the external line return, would you? The 50-footer.
Get a fishing line back.
Yeah.
Got a high impedance air gap in our external line return. What? The cable's not plugged in.
Oh, okay.
Guys, the external line return is not plugged in to the microphone. What? Am I right?
What?
Did you re-Google it?
Yeah.
External-
Yeah,
yeah.
you're
Okay.
right. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
that would have been embarrassing.
Actually, it stands for exchange.
Exchange large rabbits.
All right. There's another thing I want to add to the podcast, and I want to I want to end on a really good note. So, what is something that you're like happy or excited about? Like something that was good that happened to you this week?
Since we were last here, and as we record this, my daughter was born, our first kid.
Woot woot!
Congratulations.
She was born 3 weeks early.
Oh,
She's doing great, and being a dad is amazing. So,
How much sleep are you getting?
It's awesome.
enough. My wife is very, very gracious and is also normally on a schedule of staying awake until 4 a.m. and sleeping until noon. And so her and the baby have kind of done that.
That's great.
Yeah.
You have something, Sean?
Oh, is there like an order to this?
No, I mean
I have to be next.
I was just asking you because you were looking at me like you had something.
Dang it. Something we're grateful for, right? Is
Yeah,
it that
we're happy about.
happy about.
We're excited about.
Yeah. Actually,
I mean, it could be the Super Bowl.
this might be crazy or sound dumb or cliche or whatever, but it's honestly being here right now, being here with you guys and doing this. I had to. I know. I had to miss out
It's just
previously,
Valentine's Day.
and hearts. But yeah, no. That this to me is this is a happy place. I'm gonna go now because I'm not welcome back.
And that's when we lost a co-host.
And we never had him back again.
You know,
Mine is like super, super stupid. But if you've been there, you know, I found the right filter for my shop vac.
Dude.
Like
Yeah.
I was at Harbor Freight, Home Depot. So I know there's other things that are going on in my
The
life,
old
but like
hardware
Were you
store
looking for
shuffle.
like a HEPA or something, or was it just like a
no, like
just a
the
standard
circular
filter?
one that
Yeah.
none of them fit my thing. I was just like pissed off.
The old hardware store
but I
shuffle.
found it
Yeah.
at Lowe's.
Oh, you
So,
found it? Okay. I was
Yeah,
just-
yeah. I got
okay.
it now. We're good.
Lowe's. Now an official sponsor. No, wait.
Yeah,
no
yeah,
longer.
yeah.
Not an official sponsor.
no, not an
what,
official
NASCAR?
sponsor.
But NASCAR.
But what's the contact information? Reach out if you want to become an official sponsor.
I mean, yeah, you can just throw it in the comments. You can email me at justin.edmonds@gmail.com. Right now.
Lowe's.
There you go. Yeah.
Building your home, building the church.
We could record this in a Lowe's.
It's-
We could record
We
this.
could.
in
They'll
the
put us
kitchen
right
display?
back by the saw
Yeah.
where they do a couple of cuts for you for free.
So,
Sir?
so
We're gonna just cut this segment
Okay,
out.
cut.
So I had a.
I know that was really stupid.
No, I had a friend that played Halo like at MLG tournaments, and he got sponsored by Lowe's. They like paid for his airline tickets out there in his hotel, and he had to wear a Lowe's hat while he played, and that was it.
Hey.
I mean, that was like
I mean, I
12 years
guess.
ago, so
Hey.
can't really complain. For me, I also tool related. I found a Milwaukee cat crimper and a Milwaukee punch down tool. What?
Oh.
They go along with all the rest of my Milwaukee tools.
Are they just making everything now?
They're getting close.
Do they have a microwave yet?
No,
I saw
wish.
Makita has a
No.
microwave.
Yeah, they
Makita
do.
has a
Yeah, I
microwave?
want it so bad.
Does it run off of?
Oh no, this just got off
Hold
the
on,
rails.
you
I'm
put
just gonna
two
put
batteries
I'm
in
gonna
it.
put it in the pack out thing that's just the garage door style.
yeah.
Fuck, right
Hey,
in there.
my microwave, I know we're talking about
That's
happy
actually a
stuff,
great
but my
idea, too.
microwave blew up, so I haven't had popcorn in a while. So I might be into this.
You're telling me I
Makita.
can run this on an 18-volt battery?
Okay, guys.
man.
All right. Yeah, this is awesome. Guys, again, thank you so much. Make sure you share this with 3 friends. Not 4, well, maybe 4, not 2, but 3 friends and subscribe. Thanks so much.
No less than 3.
No less than 3.